Imagine a world where every part of your life, your bank account, your medical records, the traffic lights on your street, even the microwave in your kitchen, is managed by a silent, invisible web of code. Now, imagine that web is being used to dismantle society, one line of code at a time. This is the terrifying premise of Terminal Compromise. The story begins not with a bang, but with a glitch. A massive, unexplained failure in the global aviation computer systems causes chaos in the skies, and shortly after, Miles Foster, a brilliant and somewhat arrogant communications expert for the NSA, suddenly resigns. His departure is suspicious, and he finds himself being interrogated by internal affairs, caught in a web of his own making. While Foster is navigating the fallout of his departure, we meet Scott Mason, a veteran scientific journalist for the New York Times. Scott isn't looking for a conspiracy, he's just trying to track down the source of a seemingly mundane computer virus. But as he digs deeper, he realizes that this isn't just a technical error. At the same time, a mysterious entity known only as Alex begins a campaign of high-stakes blackmail. This isn't just about credit card numbers. Alex is targeting the global elite, bankers, senators, and CEOs using highly sensitive, digital-only data that shouldn't even exist. It's a paradox. Information is being leaked that was never supposed to be recorded in the first place. As Scott Mason and an FBI agent named Tyrone Duncan begin to connect the dots, the scale of the threat shifts from digital theft to systemic warfare. It turns out there is a group of high-level operatives, including a wealthy Japanese businessman named Taki Homosoto and a strategist named Alexander Spiridon, who have spent years planting groundhogs. These are sleeper agents embedded in banks, telecommunications companies, and government agencies. Their mission is to facilitate a global operation using what the book calls kamikaze viruses. These aren't typical malware that you can just delete. They are dormant, time-delayed programs embedded deep within ubiquitous software, like the de Graaff system used everywhere. They've been sitting there for years, waiting for a signal to trigger a massive, self-destructing data wipe. The chaos becomes visceral and physical. The narrative moves from the abstract world of data to the terrifying reality of physical destruction. We see the Columbus Day virus causing widespread disruptions in medical centers and transportation. In Manhattan, all the traffic lights turn green at the same time, creating a deadly high-speed gridlock. Then there are the chippers, malicious integrated circuits embedded directly into the hardware of everyday electronics, like micro. This is a terrifying concept. The idea that the very machines we rely on in our homes could be turned into weapons. The violence escalates. There is an EMPT strike, a high-energy radio frequency attack that knocks out critical infrastructure, and a terrorist bomb at the New York Stock Exchange that results in mass casualties. The world feels like it is tearing itself apart, and the culprits seem to be a mix of foreign terrorists like Ahmed Shah, a sleeper agent from the Iran-Iraq War, and rogue corporate interests. But as the smoke clears and the dust settles, the true nature of the catastrophe is revealed, and it is far more cynical than a simple act of terrorism. As the chaos reaches its peak, the investigation leads to a final, devastating confrontation at the NSA. It is here that the protagonist, Miles Foster, realizes he wasn't a mastermind or even a key player in a grand design. He was a fall guy. He discovers that the entire crisis was actually a controlled demolition orchestrated by the United States government itself. The architect of this chaos is Marvin Jacobs. The director of the NSA, Jacobs, admits that the government manipulated foreign entities like Homosoto into attacking the US infrastructure. The goal wasn't to destroy the country, but to expose its systemic vulnerabilities on a scale so massive and undeniable that the government could force through massive, unprecedented national security upgrades and consolidate power. They decided that the only way to fix a broken system was to break it completely first. To cover their tracks, the government needed a villain. They framed Miles Foster for the murder of Homosoto and for the very espionage that allowed the chaos to happen. Foster, who thought he was playing a high-stakes game of chess, realizes he was just a piece being moved to a square where he could be captured. The book ends 1 year later, and the world it depicts is a fractured, grim place. America is in the grip of a deep recession, and the public's trust in technology has completely collapsed. Society has undergone a strange, forced regression. People have moved away from the digital interconnectedness that defined the previous century and have retreated toward a much more manual, cash-based existence. But the final twist is perhaps the most unsettling. As Scott Mason continues his investigation into the shadows of history, he uncovers a chilling secret. The United States did not actually develop the atomic bomb through its own scientific prowess. Instead, the book suggests the technology was given to them by an outside force. It leaves the reader wondering how much of our history is actually ours, and how much of it is a script written by forces we don't even understand. When we look back at Terminal Compromise, it's easy to see it as a product of its time, a techno-thriller reflecting the anxieties of the late 20th century. But the themes it explores feel increasingly relevant. One of the most striking ideas in the book is the theory of controlled demolition. This is the idea that a state might intentionally trigger a crisis to bypass political gridlock. In our modern era, we often see governments reacting to disasters with massive expansions of surveillance or changes in law. The book asks a terrifying question: are these reactions to crises, or are the crises themselves engineered to facilitate those very reactions? It's a cynical view of power, suggesting that for the state, chaos is not a problem to be solved, but a tool to be used. This leads directly into the concept of the fragility of interconnectivity. The book was written at a time when the world was just beginning to become digitally integrated. Today, we live in the world the book predicted. We have moved from, "it would be bad if the power went out," to, "it would be catastrophic if the cloud went down." By integrating digital systems into everything from our medicine to our transportation, we have created massive single points of failure. We have traded resilience for efficiency, and the book suggests that this trade comes with a hidden, lethal cost. And the book also touches on the evolution of warfare. We often think of war as something kinetic: bullets, bombs, and soldiers. But Terminal Compromise envisions a war without bullets, where the primary battleground is information, privacy, and perception. In this version of warfare, you don't need to invade a country if you can simply delete its banking system or turn its traffic lights into weapons. The ability to manipulate reality through data is a power more profound, and perhaps more terrifying, than traditional military might. There's also the concept of the chippers and the erosion of privacy through hardware. This is a very specific technical fear, but it touches on a universal truth about our relationship with technology. We often think of privacy as something that is taken from us through software or data collection. But the book suggests that privacy can be compromised at the most fundamental level, in the physical hardware itself. It suggests that in a world of pervasive electronic signals and integrated circuits, true privacy might be an impossibility. Finally, there is the archetype of the fall guy. The way Miles Foster is used by the state is a classic way for large, complex systems to handle failure. When a system fails on a massive scale, the public demands accountability. To protect the underlying power structures and the people who actually designed the system, the blame is often diverted toward a single individual, a person who is seen as competent enough to have done it, but expendable enough to be sacrificed. It's a way of making a systemic failure look like an individual crime, thereby preserving the status quo. Terminal Compromise is a dark, deeply cynical work, but it serves as a powerful meditation on the direction of human civilization. It asks us to consider what we are building when we build these massive, interconnected systems and who actually holds the keys to the code. It suggests that the most dangerous threats aren't just the ones coming from outside our borders, but the ones built into the very fabric of our daily lives.